Hey guys, my name is Cody Wright, and I am the marketing coordinator here at Brecular Scales. And I am kicking off a new series that I am so excited about. It's 5 and 5, and I'll be discussing different topics with all the guys here within Brecular, and it will be all different positions within the company too. So today we're going to kick this off, and we are going to talk with Mike Scott. He is our training and development manager here at Brecular Scales, and he is just full of so much knowledge. I couldn't think of a better person to kick this off. For us, this will be an ongoing series, so make sure you come here to our YouTube page, our socials, and continue to check out the knowledge and all the tips that we're bringing to you. So today we're going to kick it off with Mike, like I said, and we are going to talk about the ISO 17025 truck scale calibration accreditation. So let's go hop into this Teams call. We're going to do this virtual. He's up in Canton at our corporate location, and I am located in Dayton, Ohio. So let's get to it. Kind of give us a rundown of who Mike Scott is in the Brecular world.
Okay, my name is Mike Scott. I am the training and development manager for Brecular Scales. I've worked here for 28 years, and I do handle, of course, training development. Plus, I also handle the quality side of our business. So that would be the ISO 17025, and then the mining or MSHA, Mine Safety and Health Administration side of our business, the training for that.
Let's go ahead and jump in. Just going to throw some questions at you. Just give us your just best answer, just on the fly, whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay.
So what is ISO 17025 accredited scale calibration, and why does that matter for truck scales?
Well, it kind of matters for all particular scales. So you have certain companies, and I'll make this very brief. You have certain companies that operate in the uh, medical, or more particular, pharmaceutical, aviation, and automotive. Okay, and so if they're producing parts, and say you're producing parts for an airplane, it'd be nice to know that those parts were built correctly. Okay, so the
Right.
companies that do that, they have very strict quality standards, and one of those strict quality standards is that all scales that are used in the production of parts for, again, aviation, automotive, and pharmaceutical, those scales have to have a very high quality calibration. They have to be calibrated by a laboratory that is ISO 17025 accredited, and that's where we come into play. So people's lives are at stake. So that's the easiest way to look at it. Is
Yeah.
people's
So
lives
it's
are at stake.
very
So the
important.
scale, yes, the scale has to work correctly, or yes, it has to be calibrated and operating correctly. Yes.
What are the main benefits of using an ISO 17025 accredited calibration for truck scales?
Because it's the process let's go with the test procedure. In other words, the way that the scale is tested, it is tested to an industry standard, which is typically NIST Handbook 44, National Institute of Standards and Technologies Handbook 44. So it means when that ISO 17025 accredited calibration is performed on that truck scale, there's a guarantee that, hey, this truck scale has been tested or calibrated to an industry standard. So therefore, uh, we can all agree that that scale is working correctly.
And how does the ISO 17025 accreditation process actually work for scale calibration labs?
Okay, so you have to use what's called an accreditation body, and there's a handful of them out there. So, kind of, if you wind the clock back, the mothership is ISO, which is it roughly. Some French involved in this, but it's essentially the International Standards of Organization. Uh, yes, an International Standards Organization. Okay, so they're kind of the mothership. Underneath of it, you have these accreditation bodies that come into companies like ours, and they vet them. They verify that, hey, you have a quality plan in place, you have correct test procedures, you have the correct calibration weights to do the calibration, but more importantly, you have people that are actually trained on how to properly perform these calibrations. So essentially, once a year, they come in and they audit us, and they Go through everything with a fine tooth comb, verify that everything is in accord that we're doing is in accordance to the ISO 17025 standard. We then have to internally audit ourselves throughout the year to verify that all of our individual branches are doing everything according to that standard.
So, how often should truck scales receive the ISO 7025 accredited calibration?
Um, it really honestly depends upon how often that the scale is being used. So if it's a scale that's not being used very often, you might be able to get away with doing it once a year. So there's no like rule or law that says this is how often you have to have it done. It's more, it's really the responsibility of the customer and their quality plan. Our customer's quality plan as to how often it has to be done. Now, if they're going to ask us, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the use of the scale. So if it's a heavy use scale, this is something you may want to have done monthly. We have a lot of customers that do that. Okay. Because you got to think about if you have a scale that is 20 or 40 pounds out of calibration, extrapolate that out over sometimes hundreds of trucks per day, and you've got thousands and thousands of pounds of product that you're either giving away or you're either giving it away or you're shortchanging your customer on. So it really depends, Cody. It's on the use of the scale. We have some customers that it's in their best interest to have it done once a month, and we have some that are quarterly, and we have some that are every 6 months. But if we had to give out a recommendation, probably we would meet in the middle and say at least every 3 months that should be done.
So 17025 accreditation required for truck scale calibration? And if so, when should you upgrade?
So the interesting thing with an ISO 17025 accredited calibration, whether it's on a truck scale or any type of scale, it is it is not up to Breck Bueller scale to determine if that should be done. And we can give you guidance on it. It is up to the individual customer. So to give you an example of this, if you have a customer that is producing automotive parts. Okay, so they are under ILAC. I think it's 6916. That's the accreditation for manufacturers of automotive parts. Don't quote me on that. I think I'm close. Their quality, our customers' quality program is going to say, hey, any calibrations that are done in your scales, truck scales, floor scales, bench scales, whatever, have to be done by a ISO 17025 accredited. So it's dictated by the customer. We can give guidance, okay, but it's up to the customer to tell us that we have to that it has to be done. If that makes sense.
Do you see it's typically recommended for people to upgrade their actual scales?
Let's say that you have a customer that is building parts and they're just selling them to whoever, and then all of a sudden they get into an agreement with, say, an automotive manufacturer or an aircraft manufacturer or something. At that point in time, they are for sure going to have to go to an ISO 17025 calibration. So I mean, you kind of do it all the time. And to be honest with you,
Hmm.
the because the ISO 17025 calibration is derived from Handbook 44, they're kind of joined at the hip. So, in other words, if you're doing a legal for trade test on a truck scale, it's kind of the same as a 17025 calibration because it's the same process. But
Okay.
it's hard to give you a direct answer on it. I would say for sure if the customer has an accreditation, so they're accredited to produce parts for an aircraft. Okay. In that case, your scales need ISO 17025 calibration. But even if they're not, if they want the highest quality calibration so that they know for sure that that scale is doing what it's supposed to do, then we can recommend that to them also at that
Okay.
point. It's a greasy area, so that's why I can't give you a real direct answer.
Yeah.
It truly is the responsibility of the customer to tell us. We can recommend, and we recommend, hey, if you want the highest quality calibration, you want an ISO 17025 accredited calibration. That's the highest quality. can give you, but it is truly up to the customer to dictate if that's what they
What they're
need.
getting.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to touch on, like when it comes to the accreditation that you feel like people should know, or just something that tidbit or Mike Scott
Um,
tip?
so a couple things on it. I will say this to be in all fairness for Brick Builder Scales, we do it's a real greasy area here. So again, our ISO 17025 test procedures are derived from Handbook 44. So if you are doing a calibration on a truck scale, and especially if it's illegal for trade, and most of them are. So in other words, they're buying and selling product off of that scale by weight. By, by default, that scale has to be calibrated to Handbook 44 standards. So it's again, Handbook 44, 17025, they're kissing cousins. To have a customer explicitly ask us for an ISO 17025 on a truck scale is a very rare occurrence. Okay. Usually it's on small scales inside of the plant, bench scales, floor scales, tank scales. So there's only a handful of truck scales that are quote unquote ISO 17025 tested. Again, there's a whole mess of them that are tested according to Handbook 44. So the two are kind of bolted together. And to be honest with you,
Yeah.
Cody, the line weaves and bends through on it.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Like I said, it's when it comes to truck scales, it's a rarity that we explicitly get asked by a customer for a 17025. And the reason is because typically the truck scale is just used, it's used to weigh trucks going out. It's inside of the plant where the nuts and bolts and the pieces and parts for the airplanes and all of that are built. So it's typically on the smaller scales. But again, and I know this is confusing, almost all truck scales are legal for trade truck scales. So by default, they're tested to Handbook 44 specifications, which are the same as ISO 17025.
Okay.
The other thing I guess that I would add into it is that you know how to spin this, but we spend a significant amount of time and money on our 17025 accreditation. We do not take it lightly. We're a big company. So if you have a hole in the
Hmm.
dike over here at this branch, that hole in the dike can ripple through the entire company because we're under one accreditation. So everybody has to be playing by the rules. So we're very
Yeah.
strict on our internal audits. We're very strict on our training for this, for that type of stuff because I mean, it's a big deal. We lose
Yeah.
a lot of business if we don't have it. So
One team, one mission.
yeah, everybody has to be on the same sheet of music. I'm not going to sit and tell you we never cough something. We'll sometimes cough a mistake or something up at one of the branches that we have to get
Yeah.
corrected, but we're yeah, we pay a lot of money for it. We're very strict on it. Think about it. If it's a pharmaceutical company and they're blending drugs for your grandmother, those drugs need to be blended correctly or compounded.
Hmm.
So that scale has
Yeah.
to work and it has to work correct. That's where it really starts to come into play, those type of calibrations. One
Yeah.
you
No,
wanted to hear or know about
that's,
that, right?
I learned something from it.
Gotcha.
No, I appreciate it.